All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. And if we have others jump in, we will periodically stop and just do little reminders. So thank you, everyone. Welcome to this introduction to digital accessibility presented by the Idaho Digital Accessibility Consortium and Idaho Assistive Technology Project. Couple quick housekeeping things. We do have automatic closed captioning available through the live transcript. So you can click the little live transcript option and choose subtitles or transcript if you need or want that option, that text alternative to what we are saying as we go along. If you have questions as we go along, we encourage participation, and we have opened up your microphones so you can unmute if you'd like to interrupt and speak, or if for questions, please feel free to use the Q&A chat for questions, and then the basic Zoom chat for comments or audience discussion as well. So again, we strongly encourage participation, and this is an introduction to digital accessibility. We may touch on some high-level concepts that may feel very overwhelming, so please be aware that you will be provided many resources as we go along, and that Nick and I are always available for questions outside of the webinar environment as well. Our agenda today, the screen reader has decided it doesn't want to play. There we go. It jumped our agenda. All right, try this again. It jumped ahead twice. There we go.
Went really far. There you go.
Yes, always technical challenges. Okay. It has decided to go do its own thing. Oh boy.
Yep, it's jumping pretty far. That's interesting.
I'm gonna have to try to go back.
Is it ironic that this is on digital accessibility?
Yes. Yeah.
It looks like it went back, Lane. This is Scott Hoover.
Hey,
I have
Scott.
introductions on my screen, so I don't know if that counts.
There we go. Oh,
nope, it's jumping all over the place. Way to go, PowerPoint. All right, it's gonna be an adventurous day. Welcome everybody to the adventures that are presentations with Lane and Nick.
This is the truth. We'll get it though.
So, agenda that we want to start with introductions, let you guys know who we are. I see some new names in our participants list. So we'll hopefully jump ahead here. So as I mentioned initially, this has been organized by the Idaho Digital Accessibility Consortium and Idaho Assistive Technology Project. So we'll start with introducing the Digital Accessibility Consortium. This is an informal group of stakeholders who are concerned with ensuring the accessibility of information and resources presented to Idahoans from state government. So our stakeholders include Idaho state employees, people with disabilities, disability advocate organizations, and subject matter experts. One of the core stakeholders is the Idaho Assistive Technology Project. The small federally funded state agency housed over at the University of Idaho provides the resources for training technical assistance for the Digital Accessibility Consortium. Nick, did you want to?
Oh, that was perfect. Nothing to add.
Okay, because Nick is the primary representative from IATP. All right. I am Lane Amaro. I happen to own Amaro AT Consulting here in Boise and contract with the AT Project to provide technical assistance, education, and training on information communication technology, which is a fancy way of saying digital accessibility. I have 5 years of experience specific to the digital accessibility space and over a decade of experience providing assistive technology assessment and training to individuals who are blind, visually impaired, or experience dual sensory loss, meaning they have both a hearing impairment and a vision impairment. I am recently certified as a professional in web accessibility through the International Association of Accessibility Professionals, among a whole host of other things. And I am simply passionate about accessibility as a whole. Toss it to Nick.
And hello, everyone. Like Lane said, my name is Nicholas Stallings. I'm a lending library coordinator / AT specialist for the Idaho Assistive Technology Project. Been working 10 plus years with people with disabilities in all forms and fashions. And right now I spend a lot of my time on computer access, anything to do with assistive technology for accessing a computer. I spend also a lot of my time on our deafblind project, which provides assistive technology for communication for individuals who are deafblind. I'm also trying to figure out this web accessibility thing. It's a whole new world, and I know what I don't know, so it's kind of exciting, but also kind of scary at the same time. But like I said, I'm not great at anything, but I try my hardest to help out Lane and do what we can to try to, raise accessibility standards here in Idaho.
Okay, so before we dive into the core of what we want to talk about today, defining digital accessibility, I want to open it up real quick to see if there's just any questions or comments.
I'm not seeing anything.
Nick monitoring text there, so. All right, this is the big event, right? This is what we're all here for. What is digital accessibility? Everybody hears the term and gets a little overwhelmed. So when I pop up this slide that basically says accessibility is the ability to access a space or experience regardless of one's personal abilities, everybody kind of goes, well, duh. But really, digital accessibility starts with the concept of access and being able to access any physical or digital space or environment or experience. And we'll touch a little bit more on experience as we go, but at the core of it, this is really what it's about, is can people access your information and resources and experiences even if they may be unable to do something what we might be considered a normal way. This makes a lot of sense in the physical space. Our physical space it's a kinesthetic experience that all of us share when we go in someplace, and it can be obvious. We have an image here of a wheelchair at the bottom of a flight of stairs to kind of illustrate how obvious it is when you stand at the bottom or even at the top of a flight of stairs and you take a moment to think about it. What if I couldn't walk? How would I access the second level? How would I access the first level? These things are fairly obvious in our world. And part of that isn't because of the universal design principles that have been applied to architecture for many years now. Wheelchair ramps, automatic doors, these have become a core part of our physical world and something that we take for granted, really, and don't even really think about in our physical spaces. But it's really obvious once you do find something that is not accessible in physical space, it is extremely obvious. In our digital environments, we are considering whether or not someone can get into and access the email that we sent, the flyer we created, that beautiful infographic that demonstrates a trend over time, the video or podcast that you just posted sharing tremendous resources that your agency or organization have to offer people. And it's a little less obvious whether someone can or cannot access that digital content. It is in part because it is less, it's just simply less obvious. We don't see the infrastructure. We don't see the behind the scenes stuff that presents something on our screens. So it's not as obvious to us like a wheelchair ramp would be, but in the digital space, we are thinking about how, if I closed my eyes right now, how would I see this slide? If I were in a really busy environment, like most of us are now because our kids are at home a lot of the time, or we have crazy pets like at my house, there's a lot going on in our environments. And would someone be able to hear that podcast or hear all of the details in a video? So just a few of the considerations when we talk about digital accessibility. On this slide, I have a quote, and I'm going to try to access it, but the screen reader I am using has been jumping all over the place. Nope, it's not going to let me. Oh no. Nick, would you mind reading this?
Absolutely.
This quote that
yes,
demonstrates?
absolutely. So this is from Steve Krug. Then this is, the problem with technology we always run into. It's not smooth yet, but the more we use it, the better it'll get. So don't forget that. But this is from Steve Krug. He wrote a book, Don't Make Me Think, A Common Sense Approach to Web Usability. And he talks about accessibility not just being the right thing, it's profoundly the right thing to do. Because one argument for accessibility that doesn't get made nearly often enough is how extraordinarily better it makes some people's lives. And it's really from that approach that, we could be doing this from the ground up, and we need to remember that we can be helping, making big differences in people's lives if we do.
Yes, yeah, and it's a good reminder. I feel like it's a really good reminder too that, and you kind of have to read between the lines to get where I'm going with my train of thought here, but it's not the people who are the problem, it is the environment that is the problem. So when we start taking into consideration, how can I make this accessible to someone who cannot see it or cannot hear it in a digital space? It's not that person on the other end, or even their assistive technology a lot of times that is the problem. It is the experience inside of the environment that is the challenge. I wouldn't even say there's a problem one way or the other, but giving more people access to that environment can really make a profound difference. I think a lot of us are able to feel this a little bit more now too, since COVID and remote work and so many decreased opportunities for experiences in our communities. The problem isn't you or anybody who might have the virus, big air quotes, big scary virus, but the problem is our environments are not conducive to being together in a safe way in this context. And it's very similar when we start talking about assistive technology and people with disabilities, or people who don't even identify as having disabilities, but who are experiencing challenges to accessing an environment. And it can really have a tremendous impact on people's lives. We've been talking a little bit about who benefits, but I'm going to stop here and ask the audience, who do you think would benefit from digital accessibility and more accessible digital environments?
Remember, you can feel free to use the chat box.
Nobody? All right, thank you, Jen. Yes, everyone. It feels like, yeah, yep, anyone. It feels like a bit of a trick question. Nope, it's not silly to say people with disabilities because they are among the everyone and anyone who can benefit. There are people out there in our world who do not identify or think of themselves as having a disability, but who are experiencing Zoom fatigue. Hi, me raising my hand here. Oh, I see that we have a raised hand. Was that in agreement, or does someone want to speak?
I did not see the raised
Okay,
hand.
it was an agreed.
Yep.
Okay, all right, perfect. Yes, yeah, Zoom fatigue. Eye fatigue from looking at the screens. These are all things that are impacting a lot of us in a way, and we wouldn't say, oh, well, I have a disability. It's just, I'm tired, I'm fatigued, and we experience this, everybody's experiencing something in their lives. So yes, everyone could potentially benefit, just like in our physical world. Almost everybody benefits from ramps and I can never get the phrasing right, but the flat entrance, so you don't have bumps when you go through an automatic door, the automatic doors. I don't know what I would do without automatic doors. So these are all things in our physical environment that have benefited everyone, and it's the same in the digital world. I don't know if we're going to be able to do our demonstration, Nick, because my screen reader is not playing nice. While I try to figure it out, do you want to talk about what a screen reader is, though?
Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, if you just want to keep sharing that. So screen reader that's just our standard that we use for for looking at accessibility, and it's partly because that's going to be the one tool that I think everyone's going to be using for the most disabilities, quote unquote, right? So if someone can't use their eyes, because when you're really using a computer, relies on using your eyes, that hand-eye coordination, right, with a mouse, things like that. But what a screen reader is going to do is it's going to read all of the information on a screen, right? It's pretty straightforward. But what's important about that is that when we're building documents and when we're building content, we have to design it in such a way that makes sense to the screen reader, right? And it's actually really no different than the way we categorize things. We learn how to write and build things in our mind. It's just, it can be a lot easier to cut corners and to not do things the right way. And we'll explain here a little bit further, but things like the difference between a picture and text, right, can make a huge difference for someone using examples. Yeah, Kristen, we'll give you definitely some more examples, but a picture is an example, right? And so here you can hear Lane's screen reader coming in.
Woohoo, I did it.
She slowed it down, so we're good there. Everyone can hear it. But yeah, so like a picture, right, of text is going to be completely different than just text on a page, right? The same thing with headings, using heading levels, making something bold and not bold while you're designing a document. That can, for someone who's using their vision, you can decipher the difference between a heading and the text. But according to a screen reader, that all just looks like text. So it's all just jumbled. There's no structure to it. And we'll go ahead. We're going to show you here what more actual examples with Lane using the screen reader. Part of the problem we run into here is Lane's doing a lot of computer heavy things all at the same time. So she's running a Zoom meeting, she's running a PowerPoint through it, then she's running her screen reader on top of all of that. And she's controlling the whole computer through her keystrokes, keyboard keystrokes. So it's just asking a lot of the computer. We need to get her a new laptop, I think, is what.
Yes, actually, that's on my list of things to do this afternoon.
But this will give you an example of, we'll have two slides coming up here. One that was designed in a way that Lane can access it using a screen reader, and one that was not. And we'll talk about what those differences are. So Lane, you think you want to take off on that?
I hope that it decides to play nice, because what's been happening is my arrow keys to read my text have not been working on the slides for some reason. So we have here a slide. The title reads
Introduction to Digital Accessibility 2021 Fixed Language.ppt. Looks are deceiving slide.
There we go. The title is Looks Are Deceiving, and there is an image with a quote on the slide. It may be difficult to tell, though, that this is a picture. Just looking at it, because the background is white and the text is black, where all of my other slides have had white text on a black background, it may be somewhat visually obvious that this is an image and not the text on the slide. But the screen reader will not read what's inside that picture, because it's not text as far as the computer is concerned. So I'm going to try the down arrow here and see if it will read it.
Looks are deceiving slide. Introduction to.
Nope, it's jumping.
Looks.
This is frustrating. I don't
Looks
know what,
are.
it was working before I got on Zoom. So, but the that's going to make it really tricky then to.
Looks are deceiving slide.
So I'm on the second slide. It looks identical visually, but there is what is called alt text applied to the picture now. And I'm gonna,
how do I? Looks are deceiving.
it is not going to let me in there. Man, what happened?
How do I? Looks are deceiving.
I'm going to let it read the whole slide, which is going to be very overwhelming to someone who's not used to listening to a screen reader.
Looks are deceiving slide.
It's not even going to give us that. Oh, man. Normally it would, on the first slide, it would say looks are deceiving, and then the screen reader would say image and nothing
Do you want
else.
do you want me to try with NVDA real quick?
I can, it's a lot of tossing back and forth.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
we will do another screen reader demonstration when we talk about one of the checkers. So I will go ahead and stop sharing this right now.
Meeting controls. Meeting control. Your screen share.
And we'll pop that back up. Of course, you know, it's always how it goes, though. This is the adventure of presentations with Nick and Lane. It really is. But I will take a break here, though, in a minute, and I'll switch screen readers while you talk a little bit, Nick. And we'll see if we can't get another one to work. So but the screen reader can read the text now, because as the slide creator, we added that alt text structure. I'll let Nick go ahead and read the text that the screen reader normally would, just because I know we have a few people with us who are not able to see what is inside that picture.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Yeah. So what we have, it's again, just this looks are deceiving slide. And one of the things, I don't think we're going to show you exactly how to do so, but using the accessibility checker in Microsoft Word, in Microsoft PowerPoint, it actually flagged these two slides that we created because we deliberately made them in a way that they wouldn't be accessible, so that way we could show you, right? Hopefully. But what the text says is the issue in web accessibility is the fact that blind and visually impaired people need the single biggest boost to achieve equivalence, since the real world web is a visual medium. And it's really, that's the case. The web is designed to use by, the coordination of your hand and your brain, and then also your sight. And that's just the way it was designed. There's nothing wrong with that, but what we need to be is cognizant of making sure that someone who's not using it, right, not accessing the world in that way, can still access that information. And that's one of the things you can actually see down at the bottom under Joe Clark, who this quote came from. It says picturequotes.com and a little little watermark deal at the bottom. But for the most part, you wouldn't know that that's just a picture with text behind it. And yeah, that alt text, it really changes, makes the difference simple step in adding, you know, instead of, if you're going to be using a picture instead of using text, this extra step of adding alternative text to the picture makes it completely accessible. Simple things like that really add up in the whole experience for someone.
All right, I got the problem fixed on my end, so we are ready to move on as well. But alt text is just one of the many tools that is out there, and it is applied differently depending on what you're doing. If you're in Microsoft Word, if you're in Adobe Acrobat, if you're in Adobe InDesign, if you're posting a picture to social media. And so this is, I really want to emphasize now, you know, we're focusing on the concept and not necessarily the how-to, because if we threw all of that at you, it would be incredibly overwhelming. And I feel like the concept of digital accessibility is overwhelming enough. So we will leave it at that when it comes to the alt text. And make sure I'm in the right place here. Moving on to, you know, how do I even get started? There are so many things that are, now I know I don't know what tools people might be using, what limitations people might be facing in their environment that could impact their ability to access my content. Oh my gosh, where do I start? And we've touched on it a little bit already. We start in Microsoft Office when we are talking with Idaho State employees in particular, because we know that it is a very common tool within most state agencies, with most of the organizations that are serving people with disabilities. So we typically start here. And let's see, I'm gonna have to slow down my screen reader for you again and switch over. Nick, do you want to touch a little bit on some of the other things that the accessibility checker touches on, and the resource here, the Microsoft support?
Absolutely, I'm unmuted. Good. Okay, so yeah, in the accessibility checker is going to be available in everything except, essentially Excel, OneNote. I don't think it's in OneNote, and that's about it. But as far as Word, PowerPoint, and I'm missing one. I believe even Access has an accessibility checker. Not 100% sure, but as far as Word and PowerPoint goes, these are the big ones we're always using. It's going to be standard in the actual programs, and essentially it's going to do all of the work for you. So you don't really have to be a great, you know, guru at PowerPoint or Word or accessibility in general, because this checker will go through things and remind you, hey, this is something you need to take a look at. But it'll do things like alternative text on the images, right? If you have used an image, and it gives you an option in there to actually mark it as decorative now. So, you know, if we tend to think, and I run into this problem a lot, is that accessibility isn't that exciting, right? And it can not be, right? In my personal opinion, I like the simple, straightforward black and white stuff. But if you wanted to add a whole bunch of decorative stuff, you don't really need to make that accessible to a screen reader, because it's really not about the content, right? It's more about that visual piece. So you can mark things as decorative, so that tells the screen reader, hey, don't worry about it, there's nothing important there. It also does things like contrast. It'll tell you if your contrast is okay, for, you know, anything with your font and background colors. It'll also take a look at the reading order, because if you hear, you know, Lane's screen reader, it's going to read in a certain order, and that's going back to headings and things like that to make sure that those headings are in the correct order, that we want that content to be read out loud to the user. Also things like duplicate slide titles, if you're using Microsoft PowerPoint. It'll talk about things like if you have problems with if you use a lot of tables in your Word documents, and you can see Lane showing it here. It'll point out if you have any problems with how that's going. That information is going to be displayed to a screen reader. And again, the idea is that this is the most you want to do to make it accessible to someone. And if we can meet these standards, most everyone's going to be able to access that content. Lane, you're muted.
Introduction. Meeting controls. Mute my task
All
switching.
right.
Personalizing the document. Personalize.
Apologize for the screen reader jumping in there over Nick as I got switched over to the right screen share. I have open a Microsoft Word document so I can show you how to initiate the checker. So in Microsoft Office, there's several different ways you can do it. I'll show how to get there in Microsoft Word. Oh, all right. It is on the Review tab. So you'd click Review.
Upper ribbon. JAWS scan to PC. PC.
And then down to the accessibility checker.
Speech. Read aloud button. Accessibility. Check accessibility split button. Alt followed by R. A1. JAWS scan to PC.
And I'm hoping that the mouse pointer is jumping like it is supposed to. I hope it jumped.
Yep, you're good.
It's been doing some strange things again today. So it's Review and then Accessibility. And you just click there.
Leaving menus. Leaving
and a panel opens up, I believe, to the right. I've been playing with it, and lately it seems to sometimes pop up on the left as well. And I'm going to jump to that
Accessibility.
area.
Inspection results.
In this document, I know I have one error. It shows no alt text on the one image that is further down.
Missing alternative text left (1 right) closed.
And then it shows me that I've got 3 warnings.
Warnings. Hard to read text.
Hard to read text. So this is where the color contrast comes into play. There are words that are not easy to see visually. That can be very difficult for people who have low vision or who have eye fatigue from being on Zoom all day. So those are some things that you can start to address. And the accessibility checker.
Hard to 88 response, comma.
You can click on exactly where the issue is. There are tips on how to fix it. These are some of the automatic things that Microsoft will check for and help walk you through fixing. It is a great place to start, but it is important to remember that this is just a start. There's one big thing missing from this particular document, and I'm going to close the accessibility checker.
Menu, move, close, leaving menu, page 2.
And I'm going to visually scroll the text of this document with any luck. There we go. And visually, there is some white space and lines of text that suggest different sections of a document. They should be headings that tell a user that new but related content starts here. And I did not go back through and visually change some of the fonts. Sometimes they're bigger, sometimes they're bold. I did not have time to go in and make this intentionally inaccessible. But there are 2 major sections to the document. One is screen reader survey results, basically data about screen reader users. And the second big section is user experiences. And then in each section, there are subsections. So in the user experience section, we have Alex's experience, we have Ricky's experience, and each of their names should be a heading that identifies new content starts here. And we did not see any errors or any warnings in our accessibility checker because Microsoft artificial intelligence, intelligence cannot yet identify that there should be headings in this document. This is a human judgment that has to be made at this point. And the quickest way for you to tell, skimming through, you can visually look to see, should there be headings? Yes or no, because there's these divisions of sections of text. But if you want to see whether or not they are there structurally, because you can paint your document however you want. But that doesn't mean that the structure behind the document is the same as what you see. So the quickest way to do that, and I encourage everybody this is one of the manual checks I encourage people to do, is to click the View tab.
Upper ribbon, JAWS scan to PC.
And then click over in the Show group, click the Navigation.
Immersive, page movement, show, ruler check, grid line, navigation pane check, JAWS scan to PC.
And that little checkbox there, I check that checkbox.
Navigation, search doc.
And I now have a navigation pane in my document that shows no headings. So this shows that the structure does not exist, even though we can visually see the differentiation.
Blank.
The best way to add headings, let's see where I'm at.
Status bar. Navigation.
I'm going to leave that navigation window open for folks as I do this.
Page 2.
The best way to add that structure is using the Microsoft Word styles. So I'm going to go to what's my first major section.
Screen reader use.
Screen reader use.
Screen reader use.
I'm going to select that, and then I'm going to click Home.
Upper ribbon.
I'm going to click Styles.
Normal button. Styles table.
And I'm
Normal
going
buttons.
to click Heading 2.
No spacing. Heading 1 button. Heading 2 button. Leaving menus. Leaving.
And now the font has changed visually.
Heading level. Bolded. Italicized. 14 point. Black on white. Calibri. Heading 2 style. Line spacing : 0 lines period.
And if you're able to see the screen, you should see that the text has popped up in the navigation pane. And I believe it has a little number 1 after it to show that it is a level 1 heading.
Data collected by
And I'm going to jump to, let's see if I can do this.
Quick keys unavailable in my quick keys off.
It's not going to let me do it.
Screen reader use comma by region.
So the
Real quick
first,
to Lane, yes, Kristen, to answer your question, all of the headings that you create in your Word document, your original content creation, all of that will be held when you convert it over to a PDF. Absolutely.
yes, yeah, and that PDF accessibility is a much bigger beast than Microsoft Word, but using styles makes your Adobe and your PDF accessibility challenges much less.
Screen reader use comma.
Okay, so I've gone to my second, my first subsection here. So I'm going to go back to headings,
Upper ribbon.
Styles, and I'm going to go to level 3 because this is a subsection of screen reader use.
No. Heading 2. Heading 3. Leaving menus. Leaving ribbons. Ribbon.
And the font has changed visually and a new heading has popped up. You see the structure starting to populate in the navigation pane over there. So that is the quickest way to see if that structure exists. There is so much more fun stuff I could talk about when it comes to headings and leveraging the Microsoft heading styles tools that goes beyond our introduction. But this is where I wanted to start and to demonstrate. Without the feature that I was looking for to work, I cannot jump around this document, but having that structure is what makes it possible for a screen reader user to jump around the document. So now
quick keys on.
There's a whole paragraph between where my cursor is at this heading level 3.
Heading level 3 screen.
And between the previous level 2, where I have screen reader use. You saw me arrow down past that the first time, but now I can just press a quick keystroke.
Heading 2 screen reader use.
And jump exactly where I need to be in the document. So for screen reader users, that structure of the Microsoft document, of a PDF document, is going to make navigating and finding what they need easier. It's also beneficial to users of assistive technology for mitigating challenges with hand control and upper body control, because it allows people to really focus their cursor, their eye gaze, or their mouth stick or whatever stylus they might be using and be able to tap in that navigation pane. They can tap or click the heading that they want, and then the document will scroll for them. So there's not as much effort on their part to click and hold the scroll arrow down. I am going to stop sharing at this point, so give the screen reader a minute, and we will jump over to Nick. He's going to show how to evoke and some of the basics about the Adobe Accessibility Checker.
Meeting controls.
Okay, and we also had a question before we do Adobe here. Yes, so while you're using that Microsoft structure, I was gonna jump in. You can change all of those settings, right? You can modify all of those heading levels to anything you want. Bold, italicized, bigger, smaller, different types of font. You can do all that, change all of these settings. You can save that file as an actual template, right? So that way your agency is using the same type of heading level styles, right? Same type of style structures, and send that around saved as a template on your individual computers, PCs. And then yeah, anything that you're gonna do, you can easily go through that, highlight it, and change this, change this the heading level. So you can actually do it after the fact as well. You don't have to be adding structure as you're typing. It makes it a lot easier if you do that. But absolutely, you can change all of those things, make them standard in your own individual Microsoft Word files and programs that you have on the individual computers, and kind of speed up that process.
Well, and if you happen to be the one who gets a document from someone else and they've gone through and they've applied bold and italics and the size and everything, but they did not use the styles, so there's no structure, there's a really quick and simple way to update all the pieces of text that have that formatting applied all at one time. I can take a 200-page document and that has no structure to it in terms of the metadata and the computer thinking there's structure there. It looks like there's structure, but there might not be. And I can take that 200-page document and I can apply styles in a Word document in under 2 minutes and make a fully navigable Word document. So there's some really powerful tools that are beyond what we want to talk about in terms of resources today. Lots of really great stuff that we can, possibly address in different settings. We also have some quick cards. Are they up on the IATP website, Nick?
They are, yeah. So I'll share that link in, just to give you quick ideas on how you can do that. And this is also readily available on the Microsoft Web Store, or excuse me, website as well.
Yes, yeah. So it is, but it's so hard to know where to start. This is what we wanted to start with. Before somebody publishes from in terms of a state agency, most things that are published on the web end up as a PDF document. So you can start in Microsoft Word with some of these really great accessible source documents, and it really helps you when you get to the point of working in Adobe. And we wanted to start with Adobe Pro and show you at minimum how to initiate the accessibility checker there. So I'll turn it over to Nick.
Yeah, so I have an emergency communication plan pulled up that we created. Not anything against Krista Kramer. This is an old document and something we've already have the edited stuff up. But I thought I'd give you a quick idea, showing you the structure and things like that. We created this in Word, right? Using all of the correct things, and you're still going to get some problems from Adobe. And this is just the next step, right, in our accessibility adventure, you could say. And what makes this document even more exciting is that it's actually a form, right? So we're taking it even further, right, than just a document about information. But as a reminder, this is going to be an Adobe Acrobat Okay, this isn't just the Adobe Reader. Those are two very different programs. Acrobat's going to give you all of these tools, but what we can do is in our tools section, it's either on the left or on the right side of the screen if you have that available, or if you just open up tools and you have the protect and standardized, the accessibility tool. And just clicking that opens up these handy little options here. And again, we can go into what all of this stuff does, and we will be for coming up for an IDAC training. That's coming up here in March. But what I thought I'd show you just real quickly is this full check, an accessibility check. What you can do is click on that and you can narrow down exactly what you want to do, right? It's gonna double check and make sure it's not an image only. So we have some agencies who are working with really, really old documents that were handwritten, right? Back from the 1800s, and those are scanned and uploaded onto their websites. Well, it's just an image. Right? If there's not OCR ran on that document, then it's not accessible to someone who's using a PDF, or excuse me, a screen reader. And by default, that whole website isn't accessible now because that one document. So it can go through and look for these things. You do a quick check here. Doesn't take long at all, as you can see. But what it'll do is we'll give you your heads up, things that you definitely need to check on your own. So this manual check about making sure that it's in a logical reading order. It's got the right language is set, right? So that's going to be how the screen reader interacts with the language in the document. It looks like we did not have a title on this. So I can do, just to show you guys, go up here to the properties here. And it's going to show me in this emergency communication plan, it's the file name, but it doesn't have a title in the document, right? And so these are little things that add up that make something inaccessible, right? And then that also will make a website or everything inaccessible, fail a check. And so taking a look here, it's showing this tag content. These elements have not been tagged, right? This is a whole another deal in PDF, which we will be talking about, I think. And I just did want to show you when I did this earlier, I thought I saw, here we go. There was some alternative text options I thought I had seen. Figures, here we go. So it can actually show you here, see, so this whole thing, figure up here, doesn't have adequate alternative text. This doesn't as well. And I'm pretty sure we did this in the Word document, so I'm not sure, I can't remember exactly what happened there. But it will tell you all of these things. It will give you heads up on things to look for and what's going to be inaccessible.
And yeah, Kristen, for some reason, the full check doesn't always pop up under accessibility in the menus. So there are always more than one way to access something. I know Adobe Acrobat for a while had a checklist of things they wanted you to do before you tried to do an accessibility check. So I typically, in Adobe Acrobat Pro on the right-hand side, when your mouse pops over there, you should see two little arrows pointing to the left, and it'll pop up a little panel where you can type accessibility into a search box, and full check will pop up there as an option typically.
Should be able to see that here when I just did a search under the tools.
Yeah.
We'll see full check. Let us know if that works. Okay. Yeah, let us know, Kristen. I don't know if maybe it's an older version. I am using 17, so that could be. I think they did come out with a newer version, right, Elaine?
Yeah, and there's I can't remember what version I'm on.
I think it's on 2020. No.
Yeah, this is one of the biggest challenge when it comes to teaching the technology stuff, though, right? Everything changes.
It's tough to keep up. So.
Yep, and we are, of course, as always, getting short on time. Oh, labeled accessibility check. Okay. Yep. They are changing language all the time. So I'm going to make sure that I uncheck this box so you don't hear my screen reader rattling away. Don't need to overwhelm anyone with that. All right. We have a link in our slide here for Adobe support and where you can learn more about the accessibility checker. I get overwhelmed every time I go to this webpage. So if you feel it too, just know that those of us who do this all day, every day, are equally as overwhelmed when we go to these pages. There are some really great resources out there. And again, you can always reach out to Nick or I, or any of our IDAC stakeholders for, which is probably where you heard about today's webinar. You can reach out to any of us and we can see what we can do about making these trainings available if it's something of interest. And Nick did mention we have the training coming up. It is an 8-part series on accessible PDF forms starting March 11th. I think we'll try to do a follow-up email because I've come up with some more resources that I want to get you guys that we're not going to have time to cover. Really briefly, I touch a little bit on some of the tools for web accessibility. WebAIM, WebAIM.org is a great resource, starting a resource with a ton of information. Wave.webaim.org is a URL checker, so you can copy and paste the web page address for a website and paste it in there, and it'll pop up different results for you and kind of start pointing you in the right direction in terms of making changes. And I have lost my PowerPoint. My screen share
I was
stopped.
gonna say, yeah, I wasn't sure if you did that on purpose, but you
Nope.
were on a roll, so.
Did not do that on purpose.
Okay, what I'm gonna do here is I dropped the ICT quick cards for you guys here in the chat. Oops, let me make sure all panelists and attendees. Let me go ahead and do this again. The quick card. So this is just a PDF that we created. It's gonna have some guidance on a little bit of everything in regards to accessibility and just things to keep an eye out for when you're doing this stuff. And yeah, Lane does have, the WebAIM. I don't know, you want me to drop these links into the chat as well? Should we wait to see if they're interested in reaching out? I don't know if we have content creators or if you guys are actual web admins and need those resources. It's really up to you guys.
Let's see. Okay, I'm trying to pop the. Yep, we have content creator and
We got
webmaster.
both. Okay.
Yeah.
So what I will do is we'll go ahead and I'll open these links here. WebAIM really is the place to start. With the Wave tool, and this is just for checking websites. Super handy in case you haven't come across that. Also the AXE accessibility checker.
Yep, DQ accessibility check extension. Yep.
For Google Chrome, handy little tool, especially just because it drops right into your extensions there. And then of course there's another one, the Access Assistant through Google Chrome itself. And these are really long links here, so I apologize. I thought we'd do them one at a time.
All right, I got our PowerPoint back with our contact information and details here as we wrap up. We've only got about 3-4 minutes left. I want to open it up to see if there were any questions today, but you guys are always welcome to reach out to either myself or Nick for technical assistance with this kind of thing. And we can really start putting together some training opportunities if those are of interest as well. So open it up for you guys.
That's the only thing.
And remember, you can unmute.
That's right. You can unmute. We do have a survey for the end of it, 5-question survey. And then also any questions, like she said, if you guys want more hands-on training, we're happy to do that. If you're interested, we are here to help in any way we can. Absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you. Don't hesitate to reach out. If there's anything we can do, know where to find us.
Yeah, these introductions are always overwhelming. So we are really, both of us are pretty passionate about this anyway, but I know it can be very overwhelming to get started and figure out where this all fits for you specifically. So happy to help.